Welcome, God.
Welcome.
How are you?
We're good. We're good.
Good.
I'm Sean Geek. Who's that guy over there?
That's Fred.
And who are you, sir?
Hey, I'm Jeff Cottes, also known as Fuller Hull.
Nice. So,
You shaved the
I
beard.
what's
I
that?
did. I
Yeah.
did, yeah. It's my summer molt.
Summer molt.
I thin out the
Lo-
beard for the summer, and then when I need it in the winter, it's just that it comes back, or maybe I could just get lazy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I don't know, a little bit. The wife hates it. Just hates it. Like just shave.
I
Um,
shaved mine off without telling the family once, and I'm not allowed to do that anymore. I have to give everybody enough notice so they know that I'm the right person in the house.
Well, you
so
scared
the
the kids look at you like
Yeah.
I've seen some videos where they had a person who had a full beard. They shaved it off and they go up to the kids and the kids are looking at them like, "Who are you?" type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Instant trust issues.
yeah. Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah, my kids, what they do, when I put them to bed, they always get a hug and a kiss, and sometimes a song, and go in and give them a kiss. Dad, you got to shave that off. You can't kiss me no more, no more.
Too rough.
Too rough. Yeah. So I think I should introduce our audience to who you are or how I found out about you. So I get to see you play, which was great. I was with Sam from Witch Police, who's a great friend of the show, and we just actually had on this week's episode. We had him on our show, and it was one of those things like I don't know who this is, and I was. It was one of those moments where you just take a leap of faith, and Sam said, "Come on, it'll be fun. We'll have a good time. He's awesome. You're gonna love him." And usually, what I would do is I would pregame and kind of do just go deep dive into the catalog and listen to everything before I went to a show. So I'd be ready. And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to trust Sam. I'm going to go to the show and we'll see what happens. And I really liked what I saw. I was very impressed. Um, Country is generally not my thing, but Sam said, trust me, you're going to like this. Like this is in your wheelhouse. I said, okay, all right. And because I'm a big fan of Ridley Bent, and I said, well, I like Ridley Bent, so like let's see where this goes. And when I saw you play, the whole setup from you playing by yourself to expanding the band slowly through the whole night was really cool. Was really really good. And I just and it was interesting because I mean, you didn't have like this. It wasn't like you had this crazy light show and fireworks going off or anything, but you had a show. There was a story being told from the beginning right to the end. And there it was a show, but it was intimate and it was I don't know, it was damn cool. So like great presentation and you totally won me over that night.
Well, I really thanks for that, but also thanks for to Sam for bringing you. It was a pretty big deal for me because it was my first real release, my first album release of my second album, and I didn't get one for my first album because it was COVID times, and so I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just glad it worked out, and we had a good group of people there. I mean, it wasn't jam packed to the rafters, but it felt very full, and people seemed to be pretty happy. So I was, if they're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, the crowd was entranced the whole time. They were
Yeah,
just like hanging on everything. You were telling it's nice to be up there and telling a story because I mean essentially that's what you're doing. And just to tell that story and actually have people listen. Like I don't know how many shows Todd and I played where it's like, excuse me, we're playing up here.
yeah,
Keep it down.
yeah. It is funny because there, like I did this a different kind of music. I was more into grunge in the '90s, and I just stopped, and I don't know if I was just disillusioned with whatever. I didn't know what I was supposed to know, but. Part of the deal after that was I would only play for friends and family upon special request for special occasions, and I would always do it for free. And that way, it took any kind of business out of it, and I just did what I could for them. And I think what I tried to replicate is the fact that, I mean, I knew most of the people in the audience as well, because I stacked the deck. but but it was a part of the deal was to sort of tell people that, I'm back, but I'm back different. So because before, now it's more of a country folk vibe, and it is more about a story about the people around me too. So I'm hoping that people can kind of see themselves in the songs that I write, hopefully in a positive way, that they don't hold it against me. But maybe that's why they were listening as well. But I always expect people to talk over me anyway, because as a sort of a folk singer, you're kind of off in the corner, and you're philosophizing about society, and some people just want to have their beer, right? So
Yeah,
if I
very
didn't
true.
pay attention, that's even a bonus.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments where it just felt like dead silence in the crowd because everyone was just paying attention. Um, we've been lucky enough to have that, a few times where suddenly, like, I don't know what it is. There's some switch that the performer, you or us or whatever, there's a switch you hit at one point where everyone's just talking and then they just stop. And
Right.
and I can never think the moment I mean, like, because you had tons of them that night. I'm wondering, like, what is that switch? Because I don't think it's necessarily the music or the singing. There's just something that takes over the room. Like, you had that. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. That's, when I got in. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense?
It does, and if it's fickle, you never know when it's going to happen. And if I knew a recipe, I bottle it. But sometimes the night is just the right night, and I think
Mm.
that was probably something that's a high I'm going to be chasing for some time to see if I can get that to happen again.
Oh yeah.
It was funny because my sister was in the audience, and she's seen me play, but she's seen me play either as a solo or as a duet. And when she when she got on at the venue, she was really kind of pissed off that the guys left, like the previous band left their drums up there, like, well, they didn't even clean the stage for so she thought I was getting the short end of the stick on that one. And then all of a sudden, bam, there's somebody new, and bam, there's somebody new, and she was just she I was glad to surprise her, because you bore your family enough with your campfire songs, but the fact that I was able to kind of take her off guard as well, was a nice little unexpected. I mean, I didn't really plan it that way, but it worked out really well. And I'm not sure how many times I can go back to do it the same way, but I'll try and maybe keep people on their toes a little bit again.
There was uh I think that Todd and I saw that we had seen Rush, and what Rush did, they did this reverse chronology thing where the first song they played was more recent, and it was the big, full production, and
Right.
they had, these big monitors on stage, and then they'd play like two or three songs, and then the stage would get reduced, and it would get reduced. And what they
Hmm.
were doing is they were going backwards in time to the first, eventually, like, the last songs they played was their first time they played, which was in a school gymnasium. So they kept reducing the stage size, and there was, like, you kind of did the reverse. You kind of got bigger and bigger as you went along. And honestly, when I saw the drums there and I'm like, no one's playing drums, it took everything in my soul not to walk on stage, because well, no one's playing. I might as well help the guy out. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah. No, that's great. And I didn't know that about Rush, but it is similar to what I was trying to do, because I've been playing by myself in my room for like 20 years, just doing it for the songs I would write, and for, annoying my kids, or my wife, or whatever. But as I started to play and perform, and as I added Mike, who's our the mandolin player, and dobro, and bass mandolin as well, or not bass, a
Database.
different octave. I can't remember what it is, but anyway. So point is that I added him in, and it really jived really nicely. The drummer Cameron Denby, and Kiara, who came up for the very last song, his partner, like, we were playing for a little bit together, and I was just trying to test, because I'd not really performed or practiced with people. I was always by myself, so I was always trying to test this out. And what I wanted to do that night was just to start, where I was, and, figuratively, in my room by myself, playing a few songs, and then moving up to as big a band sound as I can get. And I'm really glad I had those people there because they were all part of the journey since I started this thing again from the beginning in different ways, and I wanted to include as many people on the stage as I could that actually, were a part of the music and helped out. I couldn't get everybody, but I think we did a pretty good job.
No, it was awesome. It was like, yeah, it
Yeah.
was cool. It was a great layout. Now you mentioned earlier you were playing alternative or you were into alternative back in the
Well,
90s.
yeah, back in the '90s, I played in a band called Rigid, and we were around for about I don't know, 18 months or 2 years or so, around 95 to 97, I think it was. And so keep in mind, I was still an acoustic folk singer, but I met these dudes at a New Year's Eve party, and they were looking for a singer, and so I gave it a shot, and it worked out pretty well. We did okay, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was just showing up and being a front man, and that was it. I had no idea the work that went into it, or the connections, or the networking, or the business, or anything else. And eventually, we found out that none of us did, so we just sort of fell apart because we didn't have that discipline.
Were you playing
But it
guitar
was,
as well as singing? Or
yeah, I'd sing, I play acoustic up on stage, and then we had a guitar player, a bass, and a drummer as well.
so you did understand the band dynamic. Like that's kind of where you started.
Well, yeah, I guess so. They were. I guess I never really thought of it that way. I felt that they were always really gentle with me and just took care of me, just kind of guided me and just pushed me to the front and just said go. So then I go and they'd have my back, and I would just do whatever freaky stuff I would do, and they would always sort of figure a way to make it sound good, and that was pretty cool. I think we I guess our crowning glory was we won some sort of Battle of the Bands contest at one of the bars in the Exchange, and that was the reward was an opening slot at the last Sunfest, right? So,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
fantastic.
Okay.
It was great because it was the first day. There was nobody there, and it was at 11 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was sleeping. So we played to an empty field for a whole while, and people came up, and then I realized that this is just how the party starts, and it's pretty fun.
That's pretty cool. So you actually played Sunfest. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we have any evidence, although I think I have. I think I have the backstage pass tag still somewhere.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, something
So what
like
kind
that.
of
Always nice to have a recording of something. Like even when we were jamming, I think every recording or every time we jammed, I think I recorded everything. So we always had it. And if we played out somewhere, I had like a little Zoom recorder and I'd have it behind or something. There was always, if someone was like Dawn, to my fiance, she'll record, the show just to have it. Because when you get older and you want to look back at, like you're saying, like you went to Sunfest, it's like, oh, did you want to see the video? You would have. So, if you had, your kids, your grandkids, like as you get older, I mean, you still have all this footage and stuff because, like, our grandfather used to do that with, I mean, with wrestling. He would record, the matches and stuff, and no one could make any noise because back then it wasn't like a VCR. You actually just had a tape recorder in front of the TV where you
you're
could
doing an
listen.
audio of a video?
And then I kind of took up the torch from there and just record everything, just because you never know when a gem might come out, like if you're just jamming or something and you don't have like I'm not too sure, like when you come up with songs in your head, if you take your phone and you just kind of hum a few bars or get a beat or some lyrics or something just so you have it
Yeah,
at all times. So, and when you're just jamming just freely, usually something will come up and then you'll try and remember what it was and you go, how did that go? But at least you have something, you can
yeah.
fall.
Todd's
I
PSA
was
there.
Well, I was listening to one of the previous podcasts, and I think you had like some like 600 cassettes or something or whatever from your last. But whatever it is, I was inspired to do that because we were recording recently just sort of to get a sense of it. But I think to do that because you never know what's going to come up. When I am just playing by myself, I will sort of quickly record it either on my iPhone or whatever, just to kind of get down the cadence and the chord structure. But yeah, it's a lot of lost ideas because someone didn't press record, right?
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so key. This whole whatever garage band that I had back in the guess it was the 90s or whatever. Dan, he would record everything, and then a few years ago, I didn't have all this stuff, but a few years ago, he came to my house and he had a big thumb drive, and he said, "This is every single thing we recorded, every single jam. I converted every single one
That
to an
is
MP3."
so cool.
I
Very
just about
cool.
cried. It was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like all stuff, like it was great. It was
I
like
got a handful of
it's
cassettes,
worthwhile.
but yeah, it's just a handful of cassettes I think from before, and I just gotta find them and take care of them. I did, however, we did record an album with Rigid way back. You know Mark Chapman, I think his name is. He used to be a sound guy at the zoo.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that sounds
so
familiar.
anyway, he has a, or at least had a studio at his house over, I think it's in the West End somewhere, and we recorded everything, and we were just about to get it mastered, and then we split, so we didn't actually pursue it. But I had the tape, and I took it in when I did my last album this last summer, and I got JP Peters from Private Ear to transfer it onto into digital format,
Oh, really?
and I guess the next step would be to master it, but I got to listen to it to see if I can, if it's worth the money or not.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're writing, I was really curious because um I'm always fascinated with like the songwriting process because like maybe I play some instruments, but me it's about the song and writing the song. Is there a is there a formula you follow, or is it more like it's different this time, I do it different that time? Does the words come first, a melody, or is it just the chords? Like what's your process?
It's all of the above. There's not really a process. I think it's more of an intuition, and I try to find something of interest in whatever, whether it's in the music or the lyrics. And as an example, I live in the country on a little farm, and I drive into the city to go to work. So I got about an hour in the car there and an hour in the car on the way back. And I spent the last few days listening to your podcast, but sometimes it's just silence. I'm just thinking about other things, right? And I just came up with this line about I'm not as pretty as when I lived in the city, and it was sort of this. I was actually looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, oh man, that's a farming's a hard life, but it eventually made its way into a song, not as a core feature, but it just made it up into this as part of a line in the song, and then I was able to incorporate it, and that's became one of the songs called "It's Right Up to the Line" off my new album. So it was one of those things that just it wasn't even a consequential line. It was just a nice little rhyme that I thought, and so then eventually it just sort of fit into this question about getting older and a commitment to your spouse and working out all the things you got to work out, whether it's the business arrangements of the household or whether it's feeding the animals and who's doing chores or whatever it is. And it's that song is really about the sort of the long game, and then how do you kind of without spoiling it, how do you stay committed when one of them is gone, right? And it just came out of this weird sort of pretty city rhyme, and it just sort of blossomed from there. But I try to tell a story. I realized like about into my second album that I actually write, I guess they're ballads for the most part. There's stories that have a beginning and an apex and an end, as opposed to abstract or sort of poetry based stuff.
But I found, but like, I don't know, I like there's some of the stuff that maybe there's a straightforward story in there, but I felt like there was some, you're telling a story, but I always feel like there's an underlying thing that can be interpreted different ways. Like sometimes it's a bit okay, this is what it's about, but I feel like there's always like another layer in there, which is pretty genius. And I like that you're doing that. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I don't feel it straightforward at all. Like I feel there is a straightforward through
Yeah.
line, but there's always like something underneath that. There's another layer that, well, hang on a sec, maybe I better listen to that again. Is that
Well,
intentional or
yes, thank you very much for noticing. I don't. So I have this joke that if you're going to tell a story, or if you're going to have a one-liner, for the dinner table, whatever, it's good to have two meanings, and even better to have three. So if you
yep,
can find a way to turn a phrase with sort of multiple layers, then I think it's just interesting. And I think it's just when I think about my favorite television shows or my favorite songs, they tend to be a bit nuanced that way.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't do this intentionally, but I try to have a pretty straightforward through story. And then there's a bit of metaphor if I can manage it, but I don't want to get too literary on it, right? I just want to kind of let the song flow, but I try to make it mean something to me and maybe mean something to somebody else in whatever way they want to interpret it. But as I say that, it sounds pretty pretentious.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, but it, I don't know, like you can still use metaphor without using metaphor, I guess, which is what I liked. There's I'm gonna forget his name now. There's a local artist called Star Thistle, also called Uncle Sinner. I'm not sure if
Okay.
you're familiar or not. Um,
I'm not.
oh God, really? Okay. I'll send you some links. This guy's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Uh, Kind of doing similar-ish kind of stuff to you. Um, but bit more of a Tom Waits bent to the countryside, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and he's a phenomenal songwriter. And here's a guy that, again, straight through line, pretty damn obvious what he's singing about. But then you listen a second time, and then there's a weird like chord change, or he plays a different note that kind of is off. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't flow with the sunny intent maybe of a song, but then there's like a minor chord in there or something that he throws in. And you're like, wait, why'd you do that? And then if you're listening to the feeling of the song, then it's kind of leading you down another road with his lyric. I was like, well, hang on, that's not what that's about. This is about something else. He's really, really talented guy. He like I was like, okay, I got to see Fuller Hall and Uncle Sinner on the same bill. I think it'd be freaking awesome.
It sounds like a co-write opportunity right
Yeah.
there.
Oh my
I have to
God.
introduce
Yeah.
myself.
He's really good. And then he did a weird. That's why I was asking about the name Fuller Hall, because he's known as Uncle Sinner. And then he released a solo album called Star Thistle, and he doesn't say that it's him. It's like this secret project he did. But I mean, the voice is recognizable. But
That I love that. That's like that's that deeper layer, right? You just sort of
yeah,
present it and see what happens, right?
I'll send you links to his stuff after. He's just yeah, he's great. He's been on Sam's show like twice, I think.
Yeah.
And we had him on our show as well. Or yeah, go back and listen to our episode. It's what a fascinating guy. Like, I don't know.
Very
Really cool.
cool. You
Double
know,
bill. Come
that's
on.
one of the things that I wish well, I mean, it's deliberate because my life's pretty busy and I live in the country. So most of my shows and my group are outside of the city, and I don't get into Winnipeg enough to the scene to see what's going on. And it's been it's my new thing to do next year. So this year, next year, I'm really making an effort to get in and see more shows and meet more people because there's like you drop a name and I have no idea. Like I feel very much like a bit of a bushed hillbilly here because I don't really know the scene at all, and maybe that's a in some ways a good thing because I don't have to worry about it too much. But there's so many cool people out there. I really want to meet them and I want to see them and I want to hear their songs and I just want to take in as much as I can because I kind of exited for a long time and I didn't really pay attention. And you know, and as a consequence, I missed the weaker thans, for example, right?
Oh yeah.
Just didn't even know they existed. I just tuned right out, and I'm like, and I was right at the same time. I was right there. I could have just popped over and checked them out, but I just didn't engage. So maybe I'm making up for lost time. I'm not sure.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
so
So yeah, go ahead.
what are your influences? Because you said you were more into grunge before, and now it's more folky. Like I hear a lot of Blue Rodeo, Jim Croce type, you know, um, influences, but I'm not sure if that's intentional or if that's just the way I'm hearing it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know if I can put out a sort of a genealogy of sorts, but like in the 80s, it was pretty straightforward leather and metal, right? So a lot of Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and that kind of stuff as a
Wow.
teenager.
Okay.
Awesome.
And it was like I would get a tour. I go to the concert, wear a tour shirt, and I would just have that thing have to peel it off me because I just wouldn't give it up. Right? It was pretty clear. And then around the '90s, I got right into sort of female rockers and pop. So, and that kind of led me into to people like because I mean, I went from the early Pat Benatar and sort of our early sort of the names escape me, but then it brought me to artists like Sheryl Crow and Sarah McLachlan, right? And then, but underneath all this, as a kid, there was this blaring traditional country soundtrack, right? Because my parents would listen to country music, and so a lot of that was sort of rebellion and discovery. And then I got into sort of singer-songwriter stuff when I was just doing myself, and it was really self-referential. Like I wouldn't seek out other artists. I would just try to do my own stuff without hearing what's going on in the industry. And then I just got back into this Americana country feel with or singers like Tyler Childers or Nathaniel Rateliff or even Chris Stapleton, even though he's more poppy now. Like there's this sort of not your traditional country and definitely not pop country, but there's this really cool kind of alt or dark country that's in there. And once I found that was a thing, I just couldn't not listen to it. So I'd be at the gym and I'd be listening to, banjo riffs, which is not exactly your typical pop music when you're trying to, get your heart rate up. But yeah, so that's kind of this long and short of it. But lately it's really been like the hip is always there. I'm always trying to not sound like the hip because it was just so prolific. Like Downey's voice was something that was always an aspiration for me, and because it was just so weird but so good, and so I try not to refer that, but Blue Rodeo is right in the mix. So Todd, you're right on the money on those things, right? They sort of come out.
I did put the hip, but I didn't say that one.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I trying not to be too derivative, but yeah, I mean, even their earlier stories, like before they got into the poetry side of the hip, right? Like their early stories from either Road Apples or Up to Here. That's really like there's narrative in there, and I always found it very cool.
Well, speaking of the hip, like the one thing I really like, I do like the hip, and I'm on a kick now because of that documentary that just came out, and I really appreciate his song, his like as a lyricist, his songwriting as a lyricist is so not normal. Like he's not following proper structure. Um, yeah, he's not always worried about rhyming and just things like that. Like
Yeah.
Nautical Disaster. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's like two paragraphs. It's not there's nothing linear. He's just reading the letter and that's what it is. And it's like that is so odd.
But the imagery in that song, like when he
Yeah.
talks about, the men in the water, like parasites in your blood, like that is just so
Yeah.
heart-wrenching, and it kills you. But,
I'm getting goosebumps
not
just thinking about it now.
everybody can pull it off, I guess, right? So
Now
that's
now
what it is.
here's a weird Canadian connection. So I've always paid attention to how the lyrics are written for the hip. They're very, very fascinated with it. Propaganda uses a very similar structure as well. I don't know if you know who they are. They're
I do, yeah, yeah.
okay. So, um, they have a lot of songs where they're just paragraphs. Same thing. It's like there's no, you know, we went to the bar and danced, and then there's another
Right.
line that following the same pentameter. It's like
Mhm.
he doesn't follow any of that too, and it's very, very similar. I mean, it sounds completely different, of course, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I like taking like as a songwriter just to take chances like that. Like it doesn't have to be ABAB or ABCA or whatever. Like you can do what you want. Like there's no need to follow the rule, I guess.
Yeah. When you like there is a formula for commercial music, and
Sure.
it's usually about 3 minutes. There's usually it's an A B A B A B structure, or it's like three three verses and a couple choruses and maybe a fade out. So we know what that is, and you can kind of do whatever you want. And in country music, it's the same. It's all the same chords, structures, just different keys. You know, 6 songs, you know all the songs, you know, for the most part. Not me. I mean, a talented guitar player could do that, right? But when you have, when you're not focused on the commercial side of it, you really are free to do whatever you want. So one of the things that I'm really conscious of is that I I don't use the same chords in the same way, and I try to make sure that in any given set or any given album, there is enough diversity of feel and style and cadence and tempo to make it really distinct from each other. Because my fear, frankly, is that I have 11 songs on a CD and they all sound the same, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I might be telling a different story. It might be very important to me, but musically, it kind of gets repetitive, and then people tune out, and even I would tune out, right? So
Well, like I
I try
will
to make
say,
it.
I went to the latest album first on Bandcamp because I love Bandcamp, and then I went back to the one called March, and it was like there was times where like I don't even know if this is the same artist. Like it was really really interesting because your style, and I don't want to say it's an evolution. It was just this is what you're doing here, and you know you did a bunch of songs here, and then now you're doing this other album. You could have easily just done the same album again, you know, but you didn't, and you took some chances there, and even the way you sing is different between those two albums, which was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. But like, were you trying to do something
Well,
different? Or was that just how you evolved as a songwriter?
yeah. Okay. So, you know, this is it's funny for me, so it may not be funny for you, but I'll tell you the brief story on it. But because when I um in 2020, sorry, 2019, I guess it was, um, we have friends and they're 10 years younger than me, and they were turning 40, and they're asking me, what am I going to do for my 50th? And I didn't know. And I thought, well, I'm gonna, you know, record some of those songs that I wrote decades ago, because I had felt my voice was weakening and I didn't really know if I had the chops anymore. So I figured I'm just gonna, it was a complete vanity project. And I went in there, and then as I was sort of prepping to record, other songs came out. And so I didn't record all these 20-year-old songs that I had written when, you know, in very different places, whether it was, there's one that I wrote when I was in Japan, one that I was in Ottawa when we were living in Ottawa, and a bunch from the city when I was downtown Winnipeg. And they had all different feels, but it wasn't about the album so much. It was about just getting them down so I could have that legacy to tell the kids, hey, I sang once, right? But the joke was that these songs started coming out, and then, as of course, surprise, if you practice, you know, it works. So my voice started coming back, and my guitar playing got better, and I realized I had more stamina. And then I did a little bit more work with JP, and we added a couple more songs. And so I kept some of the older ones, which were written like probably even back in the 90s, that just never made it to early cuts because they weren't the right thing for what I was doing at the time. And then I had some new material. And then I shopped it around to friendly people that I could trust that would tell me if it was shitty or not. And they said, no, it's pretty good, actually. Maybe not that one, but these ones are good. And so, okay, well, so I put it out there and I wanted to get a physical copy so I could, you know, hand that out to people you know, and have some for the kids. And then as I was forced to slow down because of COVID. I couldn't actually go out and play. I couldn't do what I wanted to do with the stuff. So I just learned the business a bit better. And then I kept playing, and then more songs came out, and then I got a grant, and then it just sort of pulled me back in the studio. And I'm so loving it now. In fact, this is something that it's no longer vanity. It's really trying to make it as professional as I can. So that evolution is absolutely 100% true. Though some of those songs are so old that I kind of cringe when I listen to them now, because you know, I wrote them when I was a much younger man, and hearing them it's good for me. Maybe it's a catharsis, but I can put those aside and kind of move on to the new stuff. And then I really wanted to level up on this last album. So spent a bit more money, hired more some of the musicians that you saw at the opening release party, and really kind of spent more time with JP in the studio to figure out what kind of sound I was going for and tried to pull it off.
So JP, that's John Paul Peters, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's John Paul Peters over at Privateer.
So were you writing with him then on the new album, or was it just like here's my songs and he just kind of helped you with the arrangement, or what was his
Yeah,
role?
no, yeah, the songs are all mine. He and I agreed earlier on that he wouldn't write for me.
Okay.
Um, but a lot of the flair, I really gotta thank him because whether it's just a ringing chord in a Telecaster, like I wouldn't have thought of that, but he just has such a great way of producing things so they have a sound that's bigger than what I came with, and so it really. And like in his words, is like he didn't change the structure, he didn't change the intent, didn't change the feeling. He just added maybe depth or breadth to it, right?
Yes.
You can hear it like I can hear like the I don't know the origins of the song in there, but then I can hear all the production around it, and there's
Mm.
like I don't know, there's nice little things here and there that kind of pop up. I'm like, oh, that's good. Like there's a little bit of guitar work here that I'm like I don't know. I was trying to figure out who's playing on the newest one. I'm just looking at the credits on there. So who's playing? Like you're not playing all the guitar on there, are you? Or are you like the little lead? Like there's a few little lead parts, or
There's a few of the leads that are pretty straightforward and connect to the simpler songs. That's me. The rhythm guitar that JP put in, that's where you get all the meat. That's how we get the real good
okay,
feels, right? We had JD Edwards do the harmonica on one of the
yes,
songs.
on the Haymaker there.
Um, Old Haymaker, that's right. And because there's no way, like what I want to do with that one is like that one's basically a story about my uncle and and maybe me in the future because I make hay as well. But he's giving up the farm and he's kind of doing his work, but he's still making hay. And I wanted to get that clackety clack of the equipment in there, right? So then
Yeah, yeah,
the drums, as you hear it, it's um, really a lot of rim shots in there. And then with the harmonica, it was just like what I wanted. It was a squeal of metal on metal. And I told you,
yeah.
I told JD when he came in, and I thought we had shared the demo with him, so he would get a sense. He goes, "I have no idea what you want," and he had just said, "Well, this is what I'm thinking about," and then he just killed it. Like,
Yeah, he totally did.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really like that harmonica work is a lot of fun. And now, I mean, that was the I'm trying to remember. I think at the show, this is okay. Let's step this up a little bit or something. I think you said,
right.
and that song came on. I think he said, "Oh, this song called Haymaker." I'm like, "Oh, is this like a boxing song or or whatever?" And then I'm like, "Wait a minute." So then I started re-listening to this song recently, and I'm like, "Okay, now can I see a different story in there? Like it's about Haymaker, but is there another story like within that song that's telling the story of some decrepit boxer who's
Yeah.
still got one left in him or something?" And I don't know. It was
Well,
fun when sure.
well, it's funny because if you think of the term haymaker when you use it in wrestling,
Yep, yep,
it's really that repetitive punch, right?
yeah, yeah.
Well, there
So
there is an arm on the hay baler that does the same motion, and so the haymaker origin is my guess. I'm not sure, but my guess is that it's really repeating the movement of that haymaker, which is why they call it what it is, because it's a
interesting.
plunger that just goes in and
Yeah, yeah.
compresses the hay so it's nice and tight in the bale. So I guess in a way it sort of is about fighting.
How about that? How about that? That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a while. We used to do a segment on the show called Five Faces of Geek, and that's when we have someone on the show that we haven't really met before, and we're trying to kind of break that person out a little bit and find out a little bit more about them. So the idea is we all geek out on something. It doesn't have to be anything geeky. It might be hockey or it might be reading books, but can you name five things that you geek out on that are not your music?
Yes. Um, Well, climate change and energy and renewable energy
Okay.
are either one or two. Um, you just want a list right now, I guess. Is that right? Just
Yeah, yeah. Just to get to know you better, maybe
yeah,
explain your 5 points.
sure. So with climate and energy, that's my day job, but it's also my academic studies. And so that kind of comes back from a history of environmentalism that I turn into some academic work, and then eventually my regular day job. And in terms of non-payment stuff, I mean, I really do enjoy operating the farm. It's challenging and it hurts every day time I do it, but it's a very rewarding sort of hands in the dirt kind of feeling. Um, I used to be a more avid outdoors person in terms of hunting and fishing. So my son's at an age where he's interested, so we're getting back into bush more, and we're harvesting as we can in the fall.
Oh, nice.
Um, where am I at? Was that three or four?
I think that's four.
Yeah. Okay. So I got to think of one more thing that I geek out about. Hmm. Well, I would guess it would just be zombie shows. I really do
Oh,
enjoy.
okay.
I love a good zombie theater, and I'm having a hard time finding good new ones that I can watch again. I keep getting pulled back to the same old, same old.
Like Walking Dead, probably, or
Walking Dead was a labor of love. I watched the whole thing, and I never would watch it more than one episode every couple of days, so I could never really binge. But yeah, but that was sort of the that one exhausted me, frankly, because at the end I'm like, I got to take a
yeah,
break
yeah.
because it was 11 seasons or whatever. But it started when I was in my graduate studies in Ottawa, where I'm always reading academic articles and trying to figure out my argument and trying to get my dissertation right. And sometimes I just felt like I wouldn't have said Walking Dead, but I felt like I was just a zombie, and so I would just totally freak out and chill out, and I would just go down at the time a video store and pick up all the videos, the zombie videos I can find, and just no kids, right? So it was just me and the couch, and my wife was actually she was working in Winnipeg while I was studying out in Ottawa. So I was like, I got a lot of time to fill. It's either that or study. So let's go for the zombie movies.
What was your favorite zombie movie?
Oh, I really like Cargo, which I can't remember his name, but he was the one white guy in Marvel Wakanda. He was Watson in the
Oh,
Sherlock Holmes series.
yep.
He was one of the elves
Martin
or
Freeman.
one of the hobbits. Yeah,
Yeah,
Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's a great one because it's really understated. It's not like a struggle. It's just more like a labor of love type zombie movie. But I do like the 28 Days series. That's a good one too.
Okay.
Oh, and I will say the book and the movie are equally wonderful. Is The Girl with All the Gifts?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
I don't know that one.
it's on Netflix. Well, maybe it's not on there now, but it's called The Girl with All the Gifts. It's a series. There's the Boy in the Bridge is a sequel, but it really is about it's about this fungus that takes over the environment, and then that affects humanity, and so this fungus infiltrates and becomes the zombie brain. But then there's this young cohort of zombies that aren't typical, and there's this one character called Melody, and she's in this girl with all the gifts, and she's sort of the center of the story, and that's a pretty cool one too because it's not scary as you might think it is, but the end is just like, again, it's not a thriller in that sense, but the end message is like holy f, like that is that's pretty serious implications of what just happened, right?
Those are the best zombie ones. There's the
Yeah,
message in there. My
yeah,
wife and I are massive zombie, like I guess too much of zombie fans. Actually, I we were my wife was reading the Walking Dead comic book, so I proposed to her using the Walking Dead comic book. I used to go pick up her comics for her when we started going out. Like, oh, I'll pick up your comics for you. Don't worry about it. So
yeah,
I used to pick up the Walking Dead comic, and I lied and said there hasn't been an issue out in like 3 months now. I don't know what's going on, but I keep going and it's not there. And when it was, I was actually trying to find a ring to give her, and I couldn't settle on the ring. And I finally found the right ring, and I brought the comic book home, and I looked at her with the book with the ring inside, and she saw the book. She's like, "Oh my God, you got it, you got it!" She opened up the book. She saw the ring. She looked at the book. She looked at the ring. She wasn't sure what she was more excited about. And then she accepted my proposal. So
Well,
yeah,
that's wicked, man. I'm. What's your favorite zombie movie?
um, I think we go back to I Am Legend quite a bit. I don't know why. Um, there's something about it. The Brad Pitt one, um,
World War Z.
World War Z. The
Yeah,
book is
that's a good
phenomenal.
one too. Yeah.
Have you read the book for
No,
World War Z?
no, I haven't.
There's they did an audiobook version of it with a full cast, full sound effects, a soundtrack. The audiobook is phenomenal. Um, it's so good, so good.
How about Todd? Is he are you a zombie guy?
I Am Legend was probably, well, actually, both of those movies were good. I'm not like The Walking Dead and stuff. I never did watch the series. I could never get really into it, and even um, like the medieval m- shows. What was it called? The Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Right.
It was always something I was like, yeah, I'd probably watch that, but just never. It was interesting, but not enough to actually sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, some of those movies are pretty good. Video games and stuff is more my thing, and zombies and stuff. There's ones called, there was a State of Decay 2 or something like that,
Okay.
and it's all zombies and stuff, and that would be the kind of zombie stuff that I would do.
Right.
Not so much the
You
movies,
put
I
a lot
guess.
of hours into that game. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Well, me and my wife and Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all video game, all three of us.
Very cool. Yeah, I think just how you get it is a different medium. Like my kids are like I guess most kids they watch other people play video games online, and I could never
Oh,
really get it right.
yeah.
But they asked me to watch the one of the Resident Evil, I guess two Resident Evil series with this
Oh yeah.
Slimesicle guy, and I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I got shit scared and surprised, and I got to see the game without actually having to figure it out because I'm not exactly a star gamer.
That's a game that Todd and I used to play, actually, the Resident Evil
yeah. I've played
ones.
they've redone the games 1 and 2 and 3, I think. So I played the remastered versions of them,
Hmm.
which are pretty cool.
I remember being terrified. There was one called Silent Hill, and we were playing, and it's the only time like I got a jump scare out of that game. I just about jumped on the couch. I just about jumped and flipped behind.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was funny. It was good.
Well, the first
Um,
Resident Evil, you came to my house. We were playing it on
that's right.
Sega, something or other.
PlayStation or Sega or whatever it was.
Yeah,
We
and
were
we're just walking down the hallway, and then all of a sudden, these two wolves come right through the window in front of us.
wolves without skin.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
scared the shit of. And of course, you get the remote, and you're like, oh, and you're trying to figure out how do I get out of here.
Oh my God.
Type of thing.
Probably not
Yeah,
real crazy.
that was pretty fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty scary.
Oh
I'm not
man.
sure why zombie movies became so popular, like why the genre was, but like I mean, there's this thought about why sci-fi became so popular in the 50s during the height of the Cold War,
Yep.
and I wonder if because zombies and that whole what's that the prepping kind of not fad, but the trend
Oh,
where people kind of set their houses up so if the shit hit the fan that they would be
yeah, they're
protected
ready
and
for it.
yeah.
Can't
So
remember the
it
name
just
is for
seemed to
that,
come
but
at the same time, and considering where sort of North America was at the time in terms of sort of Afghanistan and Kuwait and terrorism and everything else. Like I just wonder if there's something sociological about it. But that being said, I do just like to kind of see things that scare the shit out of me sometimes. So
It is awesome. You know what?
yeah,
Actually, my wife and I. So, okay, I'm curious if this applies to you because you got how many kids you got?
two.
You got two. Okay, I got two. Todd's got two. Um, Sylvia and I, my wife and I, we used to just watch a lot of horror movies, like especially zombie stuff. But we were watching like I don't know, like Red Eye was one of them. What other stuff? Final Destination movies, like
Okay.
kind of stuff. Like there were. But anyway, we watched a lot of that stuff. Then we had our first kid, and all of a sudden we couldn't watch them anymore. And we tried, but the terror was we like I don't know, anxiety of being a new parent. We just couldn't handle it. It was it was this really weird shift where you're paying attention to things like is there going to be violence against a child? And
Mhm.
whenever there was even the hint of it, like we like oh we let's turn this off. Like we just couldn't
We did
manage.
the same thing with the news. You know, if there was just
Mm,
something about a bad story in the news, we would scramble to press mute. We thought maybe we could watch the kinds of shows we wanted to after like 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock when we got to bed, but then the sounds are going through the house. So then you have like, screeching horror sounds that, that
yep.
can't be soothing for anybody when they're trying to sleep. So we just, yeah, we actually stopped altogether, and the kids are older now, so they're watching scarier stuff than I watch now. But yeah, it was. I remember that vividly. It was you're kind of trying to protect everything, and it's frustrating because you can't. Right, eventually you
Yeah.
can't, but you sure scramble to give it a go.
And that's the horror part that was more terrifying for us. It's not the jump scare or you know Jason or Freddy or whatever. Like, oh, that's scary, but it wasn't scary. It was the scary was I can't protect my kids.
Yeah,
That was the new horror for us. And
yeah,
like we saw the movie The Kingsman. I don't know if
yeah,
you recall that film. We
yeah.
actually walked out because there was a scene where an animal was going to get hurt, and there
Oft,
was a
yeah,
scene where a kid was going to get hurt. And when the
ah,
second of those two scenes, like this is stupid, we can't.
yeah.
And everyone's like just all hyped and enjoying the movie, saying, "Oh my god, it's fantastic!" But we just couldn't get past those two scenes, and it was looking back on it now, it's like, what the hell? Like, but as a parent, you got a different set of emotions that come to the front.
Your
I think
attention
my
changes when you're like when you're a parent. When you're not a parent, the kids are, they're there, but you don't really pay much attention to, yeah, like movies and stuff that happens. Same with animals. Like if you don't have one, it's not that big of a deal. But once you're emotionally attached to, say, the child or an animal or something, and then you see something, it affects you differently.
Yeah. I think my wife tuned into that kind of stuff before I did because when we were expecting our first, we were pretty far along, and we decided to go out to see a movie, and she's pretty accommodating to the kinds of movies I watch. So I took her to see Children of Men,
Oh God,
which is a society that can't give birth anymore, right? So I'm like, wow, did you see that scene where Clive Owen is going through the tanks and he has this woman and she's pregnant and that she's really important and it's a one take scene and she's just like, I gotta go. It hit her and I looked at her like, oh yeah, I guess it was completely tone deaf, right? I didn't really get it, and
yeah.
then it started to kick in. So
I don't think I could have watched that. Like we had our kids after that movie came out, and wow, I just thinking back to it now, like holy crap, I don't think we.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we would have walked out too.
I think that was one of the last sort of apocalyptic type movies that we saw until we kind of got over whatever that stage is. But
So like the
Yeah.
Handmaid's Tale.
Oh yeah, there's another one.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like I'm. it's I'm kind of surrounded by females in my life. Like I got two daughters, and my
Mhm.
wife, even the dog was a girl. And before I met my wife, I was living with my cousin who's female. So I've always been surrounded with females, but ever since I had my girls, I'm super sensitive to like, if I see misogyny or those
Mhm.
things. Like I'm just so hyper aware that I don't know. Kids change you, man. Like totally change you. It's
You know, it's I don't want to turn this into a man shed or anything, right? But there is a certain time of life when you realize that you, as a man, you've got no influence, or you feel like you have no influence. You're basically, you can't really do the things you want to do that you thought you could do, when you grew up, because you have other responsibilities, and there's a lot of pressure to kind of um, try to control the world around you, you know,
yep,
and it's pretty anxious. Like it's if you try to take it on all yourself, it can be pretty rage inducing, right? Because you feel, I mean, I've had in the past felt so unable to influence the world around me that I just had to sort of channel that frustration into protection, right? And even with just small things. Not that I was overly protective, because I'm always at the same time an advocate of, pushing the kid on the bike and let them see if they can make it on their own. So just,
oh yeah,
let them fall. But it was just sort of this weird thing, and there is and I've seen it in some fellas that they can never break out of that. They can't really kind of have that second chance, that sort of second chance to relax, if makes any sense,
yep.
Um, and I mean, it happens differently for everybody, for sure. If you can find that second chance, I mean, we all have second chances. I firmly believe that you don't restart your music career at 50 if you don't think that there is a second chance, right? But there is sort of a bias to say, well, you're too old, you can't, or you're a parent now, you can't do that, or you shouldn't, so therefore you can't. And that's
Yeah,
sometimes it's good advice, but I think that there's certain things that you should try it again, and there's always a second chance, right? If you want it, but
I totally
don't
agree.
be afraid of that. And then that, I feel that once you do that, you become a bit more who you are meant to be. That authentic you comes out, and all of a sudden you don't have that rage, or you don't have that anxiety, because you realize that you're kind of flowing with it. You're making the most of what you got, and you're hopefully enjoying what you're doing.
And
Hmm.
learning from yourself. Like I've had moments where like God, I don't think if I met myself when I was 20, I would have just given myself shit or whatever, just a bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
But but and then later I'm like, yeah, but I learned I learned by doing everything wrong and not being the best person and saying things that were just not appropriate or whatever. But I don't know, like now, it, again, it comes back to the kids. Once I had the kids, I'm like, God, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, get your shit together or whatever. But then you realize you can't get to that place unless, you've had those experiences and, learn from
Yeah.
making mistakes, I guess.
Yeah. One of the things, I didn't intend it when I started. I just sort of learned it as I was going. But um, my kids were young teens when COVID hit, and so the normal sort of development stage of whatever they're going through was altered, for better or for
Yeah,
worse.
for sure.
And so what we found was that there was a bit of a learned isolationism. Like they would rather stay in the room, or they would rather not go out,
Yep.
and which is very different than when I grew up. And my wife's an introvert. I'm maybe an intro extro. I'm not sure, but we would always go out to, house parties, and, we'd go with our parents to see the neighbors or whatever. And there was not that desire at all. So what I found is that as I was pushing myself to get up in front of people and play, these old man songs, and try to make it somewhat interesting and into new environments and new places. I realize that if anything else comes for this, they'll recognize that this 50-year-old fucker can get up there and do it. And so they don't need to be afraid of looking like an idiot, because, that's okay. That's part of making their mistakes. So since then, not because of me, but they found a way to get out there and break free of that. But I'm hoping that they recognize that they can learn to do whatever they want to do for the rest of their life. It's not about a young person's game or an old person's game, no matter what it
It's
is.
just about doing what you want to do. I just started Portuguese 3 weeks ago.
Sweet. But yeah, I heard you on one of your other podcasts, so you have a Portuguese connection, though.
Yeah, my wife is Portuguese and her family's Portuguese. My wife was almost born there, but
Okay.
they crossed the ocean, just
Right.
before she was born, and she was born here. So,
And you started
and
3 weeks ago. That's cool, man.
well, I should have started a long time ago, but I was just overwhelmed, and I was like, and it was that whole, I'm too old for this shit. I'm in my 50s too, and it's like, I'm not going to do this shit now. And then I'm like, well, why the fuck not? Just do it.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like,
mean, the worst case scenario is if you fail, you're no worse off because you didn't know it before.
yeah, but you
Right?
might have picked up a couple of words at, worst case, right? And
Learn a
now
couple
it's like,
swears. And
yeah, well, now I know when they're making fun of me, because they always used to make fun of me in Portuguese, right? You know, oh,
Learn,
cavaco, haha. I'm like, what was that? That's baldy in Portuguese. Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. You know,
learn all the swear words first.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. But no, it's never too late to learn something, right? Like I don't
Mhm.
know, totally worthwhile. But anyway, we should cap it off. Todd and I, we have a early morning. I'm sure you do too. Are you a 5 a.m. guy like we are? Or
Well, sometimes of the year when the animals are breeding, that we or birthing, we do have to get up. But you never know what time you're going to get up. But at a certain age, you just get up anyway, right? So,
yeah, very true.
but I know that you guys have, I think, 6 a.m. starts. So,
Yep.
yeah, thanks for taking the time with me today.
No,
Yeah,
I wanted to do it. It was I met you, and you were very gracious at the show. You went and met every single person in the crowd. I'm like, wow, that's something, you don't see that all the time. So I was like, I want to want to expose you to our audience, and maybe get a little bit more international exposure if we can
Yeah.
get that for you. So like,
Well,
let's
I
do
mean, that's great, but I'm really happy that Sam dragged you along, and I'm glad that you trusted your instincts there, and just let Sam sort of show you the way to whatever it was going to be. And I'm really happy it turned out for you, because I mean, I had a lot of fun, and it was great to meet you as well.
awesome. You want to plug your socials? Where do we find you? How do we buy your albums? How do we listen to your stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me at Facebook or Instagram, Fuller Hull, or I think on Facebook it's Fuller Hull Music. On Instagram it's fuller.hull. Uh, you can find me on Bandcamp, and I'm not really prepared to announce it, but I'll say it anyway. I'm starting up a thing where if you just subscribe to me on my website at fullerhull.ca, I'm going to send you a code to Bandcamp and then give the album for free. And so I have a limited amount of those. So I think it's around 50 codes that I can give away. So if any of your listeners want to just go to fullerhull.ca, go to the follow Fuller Hull and sign up for the web on the email list there. And then I'll just send you a code to the Bandcamp link, and you can get the new album for free. And I will also say, I promise I don't spam. I don't send a lot of things. I don't sell your email addresses to anybody. But it's just to let you know that if I'm going to be in your neighborhood, I'll just send you an email to let you know that I'm going to be there. And if you want to come see me in person, we can.
Perfect. Sweet. Awesome. Thanks a lot for coming on, and go take a listen to Fuller.
Thanks. Yeah. Great to meet you, Sean. Todd, thanks so much. I really appreciate you spending some time. I know you guys are busy, and you know what? This is a lot of fun. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Yes. Just stick around. I'm just going to hit the stop button.